This is a brief introduction to the SCARF model. The SCARF model describes the elements and the reasons behind disengagement, pain, and threat in the brain as mind states and behavior responses, and the opposite of reward and leaning in engagement. It's a model that's steeped in science, it's backed heavily by neuroscience, and it's been authored by David Rock of the Neuroleadership Institute, and he's written about this in his excellent book, Your Brain at Work, which was updated last year as a recent edition. I'm going to use this model quickly to explain threat and reward in the brain, particularly in terms of workplace behaviors and workplace engagement, especially in one-to-one meetings. The model, as I said, describes these two states of pain, withdrawing, pulling away, and reward, leaning in. And these two mind states are at a meta level contributed to by these 5 elements that are described in the SCARF model. So if you add up all of the little micro rewards and pains, then you end up with an overall meta state. And these 5 elements each contribute in their own way to this overall feeling of pain and threat, or reward and engagement. So to start and dive straight in, they are 5 words: status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. And I'm going to go through each of these briefly. Status is not about what car you drive and what brand you wear. It's about where do I belong and how am I going? Especially how am I going in relation to how I've gone before. So game playing, as illustrated by the metaphor and the image behind, is very much built on status. So when you get a high score, when you get a hole-in-one, when you outperform yourself and you get a personal best, you've got a mark and a measure of how you're going against how you were before. And when you are better than you were before, you get a status reward. When you are worse than you were before, if you have a terrible round of golf, then you get a status threat, as small as that might be, and maybe even undetectable in certain times. This is particularly important when other people point out where we belong and how we fit. So if your line manager says to you, Andrew, for instance to me, Andrew, I love the way you dealt with that customer, that angry customer last week. I can really see the way that you're developing in this space. Thank you very much. This is something that we're really pleased with. Then that obviously triggers a strong reward response in my brain, and I have a feel-good feeling. But if I do badly at a situation, then someone's feedback to me also gives me pain. And so knowing where I belong and knowing what feedback I'm getting will actually determine the status piece. This sometimes links in with the other elements, but it could be, hey, hang on, you're telling that person, but that's something I should know about. That's also a status threat. So when you bypass people in a hierarchy, or you don't involve people with a particular role that is their wheelhouse, then you can also trigger elements of status. The next one that I want to talk about is certainty, and certainty is that ability to know what's coming next. Our brains rely on this micro to macro prediction happening all of the time. And when that prediction falls down, like knowing where my wallet is, I need to know where it is at all times, and now I can't find it, then there is massive uncertainty in the brain. And uncertainty creates threat and pain. So I go looking for my wallet, I can't find it, and I'm feeling agitated because someone might have it and they could be using my cards, but I don't know. So I'm in this agitated state until I find my wallet, or until someone calls me and says, you left your wallet here at the restaurant last night, we've got it for you, come and pick it up. All of that resolves and I have a minor feel-good moment or of relief because that uncertainty has gone away. A lot of movies work through this formula of creating certainty, then creating a circumstance of uncertainty, and then giving your brain a reward as certainty is resolved. So certainty is really important in the workplace and even in society. Rules give us certainty. Ways of working, knowing how I as a manager am going to behave with you, knowing how I'm going to conduct a conversation with you, giving you certainty that this is not a how was your weekend conversation, but it's a different conversation. all of these are forms of providing certainty to reduce the threat. If I don't provide certainty and I'll launch straight into a conversation that should have had the frame, some of you might know of this word frame. Frame gives certainty. And if I don't give you frame and I'm into this conversation, then you're not only perhaps responding poorly to a status threat, but you're uncertain why this is happening and why you're doing it now and why me. So if someone's asking these questions, they don't have certainty. Your job is to make sure you give as much certainty as you can. Even when you can't, you say things, look, I can't tell you the answer to that one now, but I'll get back to you before the end of the week to give you an answer. I'll get back to you is a bit of certainty, so that helps settle down the threat. Autonomy is incredibly important. It's a part of our makeup, and we have this desire to be an individual amongst a social group. And so therefore, we feel the need to have agency over our choices, to be able to make a choice clearly from that point of view, and not to have too much choice. So giving people the choice, this is why coaching works so well, because we're giving a high degree of agency in an environment that also provides some level of certainty. So the uncertainty is being explored through the agency of the coaching engagement. So people determining what their own action might be is very important. Sometimes we don't have much agency, we don't have much autonomy, so it's important that we provide it where we can. Not too much. If we go to a shopping centre and there are loads of car parks, you drive around trying to, well, where will I park? You're not certain. If there's one car park, you're very certain. You dive into that. Psychology says about 3 choices in many circumstances are sufficient. Any more gives you this choice paralysis. But be aware, people feel that they need to be able to make a choice, even when they can't sometimes. The next one, team, relatedness, being in the tent, connected, tribes, whatever way you want to describe it. This is all about trust and engagement, and this is all about this feeling of belonging. And when we exclude people rather than include, we create a threat and a pain. The pain of exclusion is real and is a part of sometimes whole depressive episodes. So these pains, by the way, are felt in the brain in the same regions you feel physical pain. And these have been measured many, many times repeatedly. So people who feel social pain with any of these dimensions are actually experiencing, they don't have the feeling of physical pain, but the response in the brain is in very much the same space. So this relatedness and inclusiveness is very important. Accidentally not putting someone in an email ring is not inviting them to an event, ignoring them deliberately, even bullying. These are all elements that trigger this sense of relatedness. And relatedness and certainty, knowing how you'll behave and feeling that I belong, really drive employee engagement a lot. So does status too, by the way. These all contribute. But this one in particular, belonging, and you're important to me, they all combine to give this engaged, leaning in type state. The last one is fairness. It's why we queue. Queuing is about the fairness of we are served in the order in which we arrive. And that's a social mechanism to deal with this need for fairness. Fairness, like all of these others, is deeply biological. And I'll finish with a single slide and a suggestion of a YouTube video that will help you understand how biological this actually is and what I mean by that. But fairness is all about access to resources that I need in a fair and equitable way. Not always and necessarily the same. But it does relate sometimes in its simple form to getting the same. So if you and I are doing the same work and you get more than me and I discover that, I will feel that that's unfair. And the video I'm about to link to, and not show you here, but at least suggest you see, will actually be a part of that as well. So be aware, if you are giving loads of time to one new employee but not enough time to the rest of your team, that will experience and manifest as a feeling of unfairness in the other parts of the team. So fairness is very, very powerful. It's hidden sometimes, and it drives a lot of behaviors in the workplace, a lot of threat-based behaviors. And this is this video that I was relating to. I suggest that you go and have a look at this. If you just look up Capuchin Monkey Fairness on YouTube, you'll see it. The one on the left behind my head there, that's a very amusing short video that shows that these primates are even responding very powerfully to fairness. The other slide also illustrates the broad biological basis for all of this model, and that is that animals respond to certainty in the same way that we do. And the blanket drop meme that you find is animals being uncertain. You were there before, now you're not. What's going on? And they respond very amusingly to us. So the point behind this, and a way of closing, is that this is not a convenient cognitive model. This is a powerful biological model that drives threat and reward in the brain, and understanding this model and attending to this model will help you at least frame and design the way you engage with your direct reports as a manager, and especially in one-to-one meetings. It will help you diagnose for people where they might be feeling a little bit down, and even using the model to have discussions with people about where it is that they might be experiencing friction, difficulty, pain, or threat. Hope that's helpful. Looking forward to hearing what you might think about this model. Thank you.